investigating a frighteningly close call involving multiple planes at JFK International Airport in New York. Wednesday, a Swiss Airlines flight suddenly aborted takeoff because the pilot was paying attention because 4 other planes were crossing the same runway at the same time. Air traffic control recordings show the Swiss Airlines flight was cleared for takeoff by one air traffic controller, while another controller instructed the 4 planes to taxi across the same runway. You're looking at that simulation there. Joining me now is CNN safety analyst and former FAA safety inspector, David Susi. First of all, how does this happen? And it's not the first time. There's another incident at another airport this week. How does something like this take place?
No, sir, this is the one that we mentioned at JFK as the cardinal sin rule, where 2 different controllers are controlling what goes on to that airport. That should never happen. It should not have happened. And I think it's indicative of some of this problem that we've been having with fatigue with controllers. And I think it's very fortunate, like you said, that those pilots were on their game, because when they looked out and they saw traffic on the runway, they aborted their takeoff. There's multiple tiers to make sure that this is safe and that these aren't actually collisions, but there's a bigger underlying problem that the FAA is looking at very closely.
Yeah, there was an investigation, I think, from January where there was, a close call as well at JFK. I do want to ask you whether or not you think this is a consequence of seeing and hearing about these things more often, or if indeed these close calls are actually happening more often.
I think, sir, that they are happening more often. We are covering them more closely. It's under the microscope. However, the seriousness of what's being found is what bothers me most. Not necessarily the number of occurrences, but the fact that why they're occurring. And I think that speaks to this report that just came out a few days ago that I'm still looking at and speaking with the members of the committee on it. But basically, they're looking at the fatigue of the air traffic controllers, their work schedules, their circadian rhythms, how they're sleeping, how they're not sleeping. Do they have the ability to call up and say, raise the white flag and say, I'm just too tired to do this? All of those things are being looked at by the FAA, and this report just came out about 3 days ago, the special report that the administrator prescribed.
Yeah, when you look at it, I mean, it's one of the most stressful jobs on earth, what they do every day, but it is so paramount to the safety of the flight crew and passengers. I do want to ask you about sort of just the flying public and safety. We've got all these stories about Boeing, including that door plug blowing off and a tire falling off, and dozens of passengers hurt during what the airline described as a technical incident in one case, the CEO of Boeing resigning. When you take all of these incidents, including what is happening at airports, as a whole, is flying becoming less safe, or should people be concerned about it in general?
That's a great question. It's almost impossible to answer because of the fact that if I say what everyone says, which is it's still the safest mode of transportation, and it is, it makes it sound like I'm minimizing these problems. These are problems. They need to be addressed, but it is related to the increased amount of traffic. The system itself is being overloaded. It's on the brink. I don't think at this point there's any concern for the flying public. I'm still flying. My family's still flying. I don't see that there's any immediate concern, anything we can do as the flying public. However, it's important to remind yourself as you fly, there are inherent risks in flying completely. However, make that risk yourself. Make that decision yourself. I can't convince you that it's safe or not, but I feel that it is safe, and I've got a lot of years, 35 years in this industry now, trying to figure out how to make it safer. And I still believe, even with all these things we're looking at, it's a matter of, it's still the safest mode of transportation.
David Susi, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your expertise. Appreciate it. Kate?